Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you are all doing well. This video is going to be part 3 of training and understanding a working sheepdog. And now we're at our basic point of training. This week we're going to look at adding in some other commands and looking at corrections as well. And then we're going to look at some of the aspects of home bonding as well in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe if you do, and let's get into the video. Lie down, lie down, lie down. Echo, lie down. Steady. Come by. Easy. Right. Come by. Steady. Lie down. Come by. Okay guys, so we've now got our basic training, our first 4 basic commands, which allows us to start training. And now we're going to start wanting to add in some other commands which are going to help us along our training, such as the walk on and the steady commands. And this is going to sound a little bit silly, so just bear with me. So there's a saying, if you shout something enough at a border collie, eventually it'll figure out what it means. And this is pretty much how I teach these 2 commands, as silly as that sounds. At this point, the dog is getting used to the idea of learning, and especially between the ages of 8 months and 2-year-old, border collies actively seek learning in the form of mental stimulation. And almost like on cue, that's the rain just starting now, so the rest of this video might be a bit grey and windy. But this means if we repeat a command, the dogs will try and figure out what you want. So it's a case of giving the command, giving the dog time to figure it out, and then rewarding it when you get the right behaviour. But there's also a lot of other things we can do to help it along its way. So with the walk on command, essentially you just want the dog to get up and start moving at first. So any sort of noises, anything you can do to build up a bit of excitement in the dog, make it sort of get up automatically, and then reward it for that while repeating the walk on command within doing that. Same with the steady command. I will generally start saying it in a way that is much like the stop but not quite as harsh, so the dog slows down. When the dog slows down a little bit, then I'll reward it for that, and that'll build up that association. And again, we can also help in the way we project our voice, the way we talk to the dog. Like I say, the steady command is basically a less harsh version of the stop command, whereas the walk on command, often there's a lot of energy. It's sort of get up, get going in your voice. Now guys, we're going to talk about some corrections. And when I say corrections, I generally stay away from all this which goes on in the dog world, which is force-free or balanced. I'm neither. I train my way, and I think people go straight to the extremes, which I definitely am not. But a good sheepdog does have to know what is right and what is wrong. And quite often what you'll find with sheepdogs is corrections can't be physical, because quite often we're not close enough to the dog anyway. So we have to find ways of correcting the dog while it's out in the field. So I'll show you a simple sort of version of this. Generally, if the dog is in the wrong mindset, maybe it's been a bit too hyper, too rash, not listening enough, I'll put the dog in a lie down, and then I'll wait till that dog's mindset changes, and then we'll let it go again. And that in itself is a correction, but there's nothing negative there. All I'm saying is, if you're going to not listen to me, or you're going to do it in too high a mindset, then we're going to stop and we're going to wait until you're in a better mindset, and then we're going to continue. So simple things like that, they are good little ways of correcting a sheepdog.
Lie down, Echo, lie down. Come by.
And then this bit I'm just going to have to explain. For a more severe correction, I may completely recall the dog. I'm not going to get that out of Echo today. He is being pretty good. I got that one example of the lie down sort of correction. I'm not going to give him a correction for no reason, but if it was a more severe correction, I would probably lie him down, recall him back to me, and then keep him on the ground beside me for a moment until his attention was fully on me. So guys, now we're going to talk about the relationship between the sheepdog and the sheep. Dogs can do something amazing. These dogs can communicate with two different species outside their own at the same time. Think about that. That dog can communicate with both the sheep and me at the same time. They can also communicate with other animals such as horses and cattle as well, geese, ducks. And this is something that even humans would struggle to do. Yet dogs understand it almost perfectly. So the relationship between the dog relies on the predator-prey relationship. However, we don't want the sheep to be scared or panicked. Okay? So it's very important to control pressure. But the sheep are aware of the dog as a predator, and therefore they're going to take the easiest path away from it. That is basically how a prey animal works. I like to say they're a bit like water. Sheep are going to take the path of least resistance most of the time. However, if the sheep were truly scared or terrified of the dog, they would be unpredictable and very uncontrollable. We certainly wouldn't manage to control them the way we do here in herding if they were scared or terrified. However, they do have a healthy respect for the dog, and that is why they do what the dog tells them. If the dog is controlling the pressure and not putting too much pressure on, he can keep them in a calm state while having them under control. But people ask me, do the dogs ever play with the sheep, or are the dogs friends with the sheep? That is not how this relationship works. A prey animal, generally speaking, will not play with a predator or the other way around. Okay guys, we only have a couple more things to talk about, and they kind of lead into each other. So, home bonding. It's all very well if you want to get a sheepdog and then have it out with you all day, but then when you get home you just put it in the kennel and sort of forget about it. I'm not saying that wouldn't work and you wouldn't still have a good bond, but you're going to have a far better bond with your dog if you're bonding at home as well. The more you're around your dog, the more the dog is understanding you, and the more you're understanding your dog. So quite often, even though my dogs do live outside, I do bring them into the house quite often, and I spend a lot of time with all the dogs together in the garden. When they come into the house, they only get in one at a time for the working dogs. Obviously Monty's still in there, so sort of two of them in the house, but you know, only one of the working dogs at a time. So now we need to discuss some of the big differences between a working dog and a pet in a home environment. Number one, you are going to have to set rules and boundaries. You're going to have to be consistent with them. So generally for us, when you come into the house, mindset changes to calm. There's no running about, jumping on furniture. If you're told to go to your bed, you go to your bed. Dogs are allowed up on the couch, by invitation mainly. We do allow Monty to play with the other dogs in the house as long as the energy's low, and Monty's very good at keeping that and making sure he maintains a low energy, because he knows if it goes over a certain point of energy to where it's becoming destructive to the house, that it'll be stopped. I feel like something a lot of people don't think about, but it's fairly obvious, is the lifestyle that these dogs have and the amount of exercise they get. For border collies, they're extremely strong and extremely energetic. And it is important that you set down ground rules and boundaries that the dog can't go past while it's inside the house, because they will cause significant damage to your home if they don't have rules when they're in there. Other main differences: generally working dogs are less social with other people. There is pack dynamics within a working pack, especially when you've got a sort of semi-large pack. Generally, I don't believe in alpha theory. Generally the older dogs get more respect in the pack, younger dogs get a bit less. When you've got a pack that gels well together, they get on most of the time, but sometimes they will correct each other, sometimes there will be little sort of scuffles, but most of them aren't a big deal. Most of them are just their way of dogs communicating. But what you are going to have to do, if you do have a pack of dogs, you're going to have to recognize when a situation is about to turn into something more than that, and you have to be competent in handling something like that. And like my situation, basically, yes, my dogs are out a lot of the time. They're up at the farm. We generally see the same 5 or 6 people every day, 365 days a year, and not many other people. So they are naturally suspicious of strangers when you're living in a situation like that, which means they don't often take to strangers if those strangers aren't introduced properly. And look at that, just as we're finishing, that is the sun starting to come back out. It wasn't a particularly heavy shower, but it was a little one, and it was just my luck that it was that time that I decided to head out. So in the next video, guys, I'm basically going to be throwing a lot of information at you about basically the mechanics of herding and how it works. So that's going to just be a whole video in itself. That's pretty much the end of this video. If you did like the video, please like, subscribe, leave comments. It helps with the algorithm, guys, and as I say, we're trying to push the YouTube right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Cheers, guys.